So I was on a solo backpacking trip down in the Buffalo National River area of Arkansas. I'd gotten into camp, had a great dinner, beautiful sunset. Everything was great. Nighttime, you get in the tent, and if you've ever spent any time out in the woods, you know. Wilderness at night, it's just different. It's majestic, it's beautiful, can also be scary, and your mind will play tricks on you. But the good outweighs the bad, and you press on. That night, though, the fear that's always in the back of your mind came true. Something or someone was coming into my camp. When I got into the area, I stopped at the Buffalo Outdoor Center like I always do, pick up a few supplies. And I asked the lady behind the counter if there were any bear sightings, any encounters. She said, yeah, there's been some sightings, but no incidents, which is normal for the area. Black bears are common in this particular part of Arkansas. I didn't really think much of it. So I'm sleeping in my tent. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm woken up by footsteps. Now, they're slow, methodical, circling the camp. Now, at this time, I couldn't tell if it was human, animal. It could have been a dinosaur or a squirrel. In the woods, you can't tell the difference. Every twig that breaks sounds louder than it really is. Everything seems to be magnified. Add to the fact that your mind is going crazy. It was tough. That was a tough moment. I started to panic. Most of the time, you hear stuff crawling around outside the tent. It's just a nocturnal animal looking for an easy snack. I mean, after all, I'm in their house. But this particular situation felt different. The hair on my arm started to stand up. I could tell. This time was different. So this animal is not leaving, right? It continues to kind of sniff around camp. I can hear it breathing. This is definitely not a squirrel or deer or anything like that. I mean, right now, my heart is jacked, right? Like I can hear it pumping in my ears. I don't know what to do, right? My mind is racing. I mean, it could be a crazy mass murderer or a bear. I remember the lady at the counter saying that there were bear sightings. It's got to be a bear, right? I mean, there's a bear in my camp. That's all I can think. That's what it has to be, right? Now, back then, I didn't really carry a weapon or anything. Call it being naive, call it minimalism, whatever I thought I was doing. I was dumb. Didn't have anything. All I really carried was a knife, pocket knife, kind of similar to this, a little bit bigger. So I don't have anything, right? I got this bear outside my tent. It's lurking around, creeping. I'm just imagining the claws on this thing. I can almost hear them like scraping on the limestone rocks that are around the camp. The fire that was still going kind of cast a shadow on the tent. And it was, the animal was between me and the fire. And so the shadow on the tent looked enormous. I was terrified. I mean, my adrenaline is jacked. I got the knife in one hand, not sure what it's going to do. Got a flashlight in the other. I don't know why I was going to hit with it or light it up. You don't really think clear in these situations. That's something I learned about myself. Your mind does crazy things, in these moments. Like I remember feeling like I had so much adrenaline pumping, I had thought about just unzipping the tent and making a run for it. But then I remembered bears can outrun me and they climb trees, so I couldn't run. I didn't have a chance to put up a good fight. I was helpless. Eventually, the inevitable happens. The thing starts approaching the tent, like its body is putting in like an impression in the tent lining. I can kind of, see it coming in. And then its nose, like its snout, like I can hear it like snorting. Kind of has a weird raspy breathing to it. It didn't sound healthy, but it did sound scary. And so, it kind of like pushed its nose in on the tent a little bit. I'm thinking, this is it. This is the moment. I'm going to die. all I could think to do was I coil back both my legs. I kind of curl up in a ball. And with all my energy, with all my might, I double kick this thing in the face. Bam! And I yell out this scream, right? It was incomprehensible. It wasn't even words. It was like, ah! It was primal. I'm facing death. This is all I could do. And I remember I had bare feet. I didn't put my shoes on for some reason. I wasn't going to run very far. But I remember feeling like its jaw, like its tooth on my foot and its nose, like the way it felt on my foot through the tent. I'll never forget that. At this point, I didn't know what it was doing. So I grabbed my knife, my flashlight, I unzip the tent and I jump out and I'm like, let's go. Whatever this thing is, like we're gonna go. And that's when we came eye to eye. Across the fire, the reflection of the fire off of its eyes made it look like the eyes were glowing. I mean, it was creepy. Immediately, arm hair, neck hair, standing up on end. I got the knife like in my fist, right? The flashlight. I don't know, we're kind of having a stare down, like eye to eye. It's just like nature. Who's gonna become dominant? Who's gonna survive? And then I yell again. I said, what? Looking back was stupid. Like, what? But it looked as scared as I was all of a sudden. It went from this fearsome, crazy, psycho killer bear, what ended up being a coyote, the cowardly coyote, right? When I said what, it like kind of startled and took off. And there I was, left with all this adrenaline over a coyote. And that was it. It ran off and I was left at camp looking around like, what just happened? Needless to say, I did not sleep well the rest of the night. As soon as sunrise hit, I packed up my stuff and left. But I guess the takeaway for me is I learned something. I learned, what am I going to do if faced with a situation like that? And I guess the answer for me, I got up and stood and I faced my fears. I could have been mauled to death, but at least I know what I'll do in that situation again.